And all I said to him was, you've got to go back to the school gates. And he cried for the first time in 7 years, all over my nice yellow shirt, and just literally sobbed his heart out like a little 7-year-old boy. Came round after about 10 minutes, went, thank you very much, walked out, and he's never been seen in the church since. It's not what we do it for. We do it that he can have life and have it to the full. And that's, now I've never told anybody they have to go back to the school gates ever since. May never do it again. But for him, it was just the trigger that activated the emotion, and his pain tank got emptied. In reality, I believe those two things, shock and trauma, I'm going to talk about them as spirits, okay? Little s. Those two spirits work together. They work together. We're attacked by the enemy through shock, and through trauma holds it open. And there's a real risk, and it is only a risk, that with that door open, other stuff can come in and build on it. And and this is some of the stuff that we've seen happen, okay? The next one is fear. Shock, trauma, fear. Fear, almost exclusively. I'm trying to think even now if there's ever been a case where fear hasn't been the first thing through the door. I can't remember in 5 or 6 years, maybe 7 years of ministering this, of somebody not having fear there because of the attack that's taken place. How big it is, how strong it is, depends on the person. But it's almost as if fear is lurking. So you're sat in a car wreck. You're sat in a car, someone hits the back of your car. You're shocked. There could be trauma, but the fears can be anything like, am I going to walk? Am I going to be okay? Am I healed? How's the family? How's the kids? All this blur that's going on. There's all this panic and fear that can set in. And what we've seen also, and I've called it fear, but panic's another expression, is people get into a situation like that, into an elevator, into a car, whatever, and they panic. See, people, particularly after 9/11, and I'll talk about 9/11 in a minute, but I flew the next day from England to Germany. I mean, apart from okay, I'll tell you about 9/11. I should have been there. I cancelled the trip 2 days before. I'd have been coming up out of the underground as one of the towers came down. I was also 2 trains behind the one on 7/7 when the London bombing took place. I was caught in one of the tunnels. I was 2 trains. If I'd have caught my earlier train, I'd have been on one of the trains that blew up. Somebody says, I'm not travelling with you. I said, no, I'm the safest person to travel with, because it all happens around me, you know, protection by heaven, you know. But there's this panic happens, and so people were getting to the gate of the plane to get on it, and having panic attacks through fear and walking away. One girl in front of me at the check-in had got all the way to the gate to get on the plane. She said, I just can't do this. Turned around and walked out the airport. The problem was she's on the departure side, so there is no way back. So I don't know how she got back out to the place, but she had a meltdown. Out of what she'd known had gone on and everything else. And we minister to people, we've talked to minister to people who've had accidents, but a growing number of those were traumatized by other events can tell you when fear came in. That girl falling down the stairs, the Lord showed me, I said, by step 3 you're in fear, weren't you? Because I was trying to tease this out. And she said, yeah, how did you know? It always seems to follow. I said, and then after fear came fear of death. And she went, yeah. Like it's just come by revelation. But almost everybody's told us that in their cases, this is how it's worked. That whether at a conscious or subconscious level, fear comes in. What about the future? How will I cope? If it's a physical accident, physically, then we've seen really commonly these next three. Death, spirit of death. Fear of death. And the most subtle of all is the spirit of weakness. How many times have you heard somebody say, my leg's never been the same, my shoulder's never been the same since that fall or that accident? Weakness. It's come that we'd be made whole. It wasn't, it is finished except for weakness. It is finished. Everything was done. And that's what we're looking to live in. Now, one of the new ones, let me carry on because I'll come to stress in a minute. Weakness, as its name suggests, is a weak spirit, but can easily be missed when praying for somebody. And the last one we've seen, my mother discerned weakness. She gave me the weakness one through her years of ministry. But the one we've seen occurring more and more is stress. People get into a stressful situation and because most trauma is extremely stressful. And when we get back into a stressful situation, it can be totally unrelated to the cause that occurred. Even in an unrelated area, then symptoms or sickness break out in our body. So I told you the story with the abuse. That the stress, with the fear and insecurity and intimidation, my body would literally break down and I'd have to take time off work. At the very point I discerned that something was coming against me, my body would break down. It was a defense mechanism. I had all through the, probably from, I started work at 17, probably till 25, well, God healed my back when I was 30, so probably 25, 27, I had an awful attendance record of work through sickness. Because every time I discerned something wasn't right, something was happening, the stress of work, my body would break down. It wasn't related to abuse, but abuse was the root. And so stress is one of those incidents. And that came about by ministering to a young boy whose father went with him. Him and his father went to Russia on a ministry trip to do evangelism on the streets of Moscow. And they got set upon by a gang, Moscow gang. And his son got hit round the head with a baseball bat. And his whole mind was just unable to concentrate and all sorts of real mental back trauma. And I prayed for him, and I mean, God just hit him. He wasn't totally set free. He had improvement. And I was talking to his mum one day, a few months afterwards, and said, "How was he?" She said, "He's been really good." But she said, "The thing we've noticed is when he gets into a stressful situation, his mind he just can't cope with it." You see how we can gather truth? So I went to the Lord and I said, "Lord, is this another key? Just shows you, it's just another expression that there might be trauma there. Is this just another key?" And he said, "Well, look at your own life." And I went, "Yeah, okay." So stress is the last one we've noticed. Okay, long-term trauma. The most common of this is the five different types of abuse. If you don't know what those are, it's physical, mental, emotional, mental, emotional, sexual, and silent. Silent abuse. Kids just being ignored. The silent language. Physical, sexual, emotional, mental, and silent. Always, always, always is trauma. When Jesus is handed the scroll in the temple for the first time at the start of his ministry, he releases his mission statement. And in the middle of that, readings are this. Luke 4:18 in the Amplified. He was sent forth, delivered to deliver those who are oppressed, who are downtrodden, bruised, crushed, and broken by calamity. Broken by calamity.